Hello and welcome to Beyond the Scale, Weight Loss and Wellness. I'm your host, Coach Monica. I'm joined today by Coach Darcy, and we are here to guide you through the ins and outs of a lifestyle that's transformed not just our lives, but the lives of countless women navigating the waves of perimenopause and menopause. Whether you're here to shed weight, understand your body better, or simply find a community that gets it, you're in the right place. So sit back and enjoy the next few minutes as we tackle the hot issues of today. Welcome, everybody. It is so good to have you on this morning, whether you're listening to us on a podcast or you're watching us via Facebook Live. We are so glad you're here, and we have an exciting show for you today. Coach Darcy, welcome. How are you doing?
Hey, I'm doing great. I'm feeling great. Got my vitamin D in this morning. So yeah, we're great. How about you?
I am doing great too. It is, we just survived an Indiana hurricane. I
Oh
see
yeah.
you had some damage where you were
Oh
in
yeah.
central Indiana.
I've got the tree marks all over my arm to that's the to prove that we had a tree limb fall. It was more like a tiny tree
Yeah.
from a big tree.
Yeah.
But
I
yeah, we
didn't
had to clean that up.
know, I didn't know Indiana had hurricanes.
I didn't either. It sounds like you guys had some flooding though, since you're
Oh,
surrounded by lakes. We
yeah.
just got a lot of wind.
Yeah, it's pretty bad, especially up in the northern part. They got, I think, 8 inches,
Wow.
and yeah, their crops are not doing well. We just had a grill cover. We had just bought it. I'm so mad. We had just bought it 2 months ago. Had this nice over the head, um, beautiful little canopy, and it's not there anymore.
Mm,
So, yeah,
yeah.
I guess Indiana does have hurricanes. The
I guess
remnants of, is
so.
it the one that went through Jamaica?
Yeah, I think the Bahamas and yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
So,
They're
thank
not
our
doing so
lucky
good over there.
stars,
Yeah.
we didn't get that damage, but we did get some damage up here. So,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It was
anyway,
eerie.
yeah, hey, just an announcement this morning. We opened up registration for our fall carnivore 30-day challenge. That was so successful this
Yeah.
spring. And so we just decided we're going to run it again in the fall.
Mm-hmm.
And so we opened up the early bird pricing, and I narrowed that down. I don't know if you saw, but I narrowed that down just because of we want to keep this group a little bit smaller. So we're going to have kind of a restricted enrollment this year. So I narrowed that early bird price down. So if you are wanting to jump into this 30-day
Mm.
carnivore challenge that we're going to begin on October 1st, you'll want to run over to our website, kmhealthcoaching.org, and get your spot pretty quickly. This
Yeah.
one is we had several enroll yesterday, and it hadn't even been announced yet. So
What? That's insane.
yeah,
I'm excited.
we've got a big group coming in this
Yeah.
fall. Give your top, to Coach Darcy, give your top one or two benefits that came from the carnivore challenge that we ran in the spring.
So one of them would be so when you go keto, you get this clarity, this energy. This next one is a little different. Like you have clarity and this energy that's like amped up even more. The other one is I didn't walk around feeling swollen. My
Oh
body didn't
yeah.
feel swollen. I felt like I could actually put my rings on my fingers with no problem. I mean, before it's not
Yeah.
such a big deal, but when you wake up sometimes, some mornings, you just feel like tight. I never
Yeah.
felt tight like that. Um,
Yeah.
but those would be
Totally.
and my like the skin, my skin it felt so much softer. I don't know why. That was a
Mm-hmm.
weird one, but I felt like my skin was softer. And I still didn't use lotion. I'm terrible with using
I am too.
lotion, but like that was a new one. For me, I have skin issues, always have, as far as I can remember, and that was like a clear up. So I know that was three, but
Yeah.
there's more, but I will not say anything
Yeah.
else.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
totally went into it in the spring. ready to watch it fail because
Yeah,
I'm not, and even today, I'm not convinced that this is a sustainable lifestyle. I
right.
think with a couple of tweaks, it could be. Now, some people can do it and they do
Hmm.
the lion diet and they
Right.
do, I heard a testimony yesterday of somebody who just realized she had been the lion carnivore for 2 years. She had hit her 2 years. So it is completely
Wow.
possible. I
Hey, is
apologize.
mom still?
Yeah,
I'm curious if mom
she
is.
is more. She put in the carnivore ice cream. So
Okay.
yeah, because
I was
dad
like,
bought her
she,
the creamy.
I was
So
wondering when we were doing this and our mom
yeah,
joined in,
yeah,
that's kind of like she was like no dairy and just meat. I was like,
she
what?
was. She was a beast.
Yes,
But
she
I do
was.
believe the carnivore ice cream came back in, but I think it's only on Sundays.
Oh,
So yeah.
all right.
But yeah, I'm excited about our fall round because it was an average 20-pound weight loss. And then the people that are still doing it, that are still
Mm,
reporting back to me, it's about 30 pounds.
right.
And it's been what has it been 60 to 90 days since we did the
It's
last
about
one.
almost 3 months. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, it is a
I would
really
just a
Mhm.
disclaimer though. I
Yeah.
know like yes, there was a lot of weight loss.
Mm-hmm.
But for people like in my world, like I
Mm-hmm.
still probably rocking on like 10 pounds, but that
Mm-hmm.
was 10 pounds. Let me
Yeah.
finish. Like that was 10 pounds that I probably hadn't even moved on the scale for about two
Right.
years.
Right.
So
Yeah.
after 2 years of not like being very consistent on that
Mm-hmm.
scale, no matter with fasting, all those other things, like it would move maybe 3 pounds, but then it'd come back up.
Yeah.
This is weight that has stayed
Stayed
off.
off.
And like that's, yeah. So
Yeah. And
it
you didn't
depends on
have a lot
everyone.
to lose. Yeah. The more you
No,
have to
no.
lose, the faster it comes off. So
Yes,
that's just,
very true.
yeah.
But this was the
So,
stubborn stuff.
oh, that stubborn stuff, it made me kind of gave me some imposter syndrome and made me wonder, am I really a good coach? Because I was really struggling getting that off. I lost about 15 pounds, and like you said, it stayed off. So
Hmm.
it
Yeah,
wasn't, it wasn't an up or down thing. So
right.
my favorite part and the part that keeps me on it is the mental health.
Hmm.
Without a doubt, the mental fog and the kind of anxiety that I was experiencing there for a while, that is gone. And so that's what makes me stay in the game. So
Right.
so yeah, we want to welcome you to the fall round. Make sure you have to register. So make sure you run over to our website, kmhealthcoaching.org, and grab your spot. So apologize, my nose is itching this morning. So we are cutting this for a Facebook Live, and y'all probably saw me do this. I
Yeah. Do you need a
apologize for that.
tissue?
I know it's just itching, and I have my
Mm,
tissue here. So
yeah.
hey,
Jeez.
today we want to talk about something. We're going to dabble. As a lot of you know, I am a certified licensed food addiction recovery coach, as well as a keto coach, and we just added another certification to our repertoire, and that is the fasting like a girl. So we believe that not everyone falls under the same need when it comes to weight loss, when it comes to metabolic health. And so we want to make sure that in our toolbox, we are able to help our clients with where they come in. They come in, and sometimes, like we're going to talk about today, sometimes a client will come to us. The majority, in fact, the majority of clients come to us with the fact, I want to lose weight because they
Hmm.
see our testimony. They see that I lost 120 pounds. They see that you lost 70 pounds, and they're like, I want what they have. And then when they come into the program, they realize that, oh gosh, I may have a different need. Maybe my hormones are messed up, or maybe I do struggle with food addiction, and that is a real big struggle. And so we're able to tweak. We're able to tweak our coaching services for that individual client. But today we're going to dabble a little bit into food addiction. And I'm going to just say that 80% of our clients right now are in the wrong program.
Yeah.
And it's just a fact.
Hmm.
80% of our clients have some sort of sugar or carbohydrate addiction. And in order for them to heal completely, they have to come to what we are talking about today. So 80% of our listeners today are going to struggle with what we're
Hmm.
talking about. and that is food addiction. We interchange the words food addiction with carbohydrate or sugar addiction because a lot of people think, well, I don't like cookies, but they're addicted to the salty. They're addicted to volume.
Mm-hmm.
And so we interchange those things. So you may have a sugar addiction. You may identify with the term sugar addiction. You may identify with the term carbohydrate. There's a processed food addiction. And there's what I'm going to talk about today a little bit in my story, and that's volume addiction. And so the first thing that you have to do is what we're going to talk about today, and that's admitting. And it's admitting that you are powerless over food. We take our addiction clients through the 12-step process, and it's the 12 steps that came from AA. And they convert very, very easily over to food addiction. AA and Food Overeaters Anonymous, they are one and the same treatment. Okay. And so the first step is vital. You can interchange the 12 steps in when it comes to food addiction treatment. I could start somebody, I can't start them out without number one, but you can mix up the other, 11 steps. Some people will go through the spiritual healing before they go through the physical healing. Some people, will have they identify with one step over another. However, the first one is vital, and the first one is admitting that you have a problem. Most clients come to us again. I need to lose weight. I need to get into my swimsuit. I need to do this, and I need to do it yesterday. And the struggle food addiction coaches have is looking at these quick fad diets like the medication, like the shots, like the starvation diets, because they see their friends losing very, very quickly. However, what they don't see is the weight coming back faster than what they lost it. And so that's what they don't see is they don't see the complete healing process. And the complete healing process begins with this first step, which is admitting you are powerless over food.
Mm-hmm.
You are admitting that I can't do this thing by myself. And so let's kind of break that first step apart just a little bit. And let's start, Darcy, by kind of what your history of food addiction is. And then I'll share kind of my history and my morphing into where I landed in 2017. So tell us a little bit about what your story looks like.
So my story looks like watching, like what you just described, is me watching other people's journey and wanting that quick fix. That's why I went to an MLM company at first and realized this is not helping me any. And going backwards where I cut out the carbs, I cut out the sugar, but then I started adding that stuff back in for events because I didn't want to be left out. I also was a very stressed mama. So anytime I got out and I was had a girls' night, I'm like, oh, just for tonight, I'm going to eat whatever I want. This is just the only time I do this. But then all of those added up. I didn't see that it isn't as an issue when I first started because I'm good with rules. Like when you tell me to do something to get to my destination, I'm gonna do it. Like because I see that it worked. I'm gonna do it. But I didn't add the fact that I had an addiction to the food. That's why those things started to creep back into my life, and I gained all of it, but I think 10 pounds back. I had lost 30. I gained all of it back. And then I, went through the program and I was like, oh, I've got this. I'm losing weight. Didn't even think about the mental side of things. Then coming to these events like, fear of missing out. I struggled with that. I didn't realize I had an issue with food until I was like starting to do a lot of journaling. And I pinpointed when I first started to realize that, you know what, it started at a very young age. I had an addiction to sugar at a very young age. And that was, I just posted a thing from the 90s. It was like if your cereal looked like this, where you had like a little island of cane sugar on top of your Cheerios or your cornflakes. That was mine every Saturday or every time I had cereal, and we were big cereal people. Um, I'm sure like also hiding in my mom's closet, not my mom's closet, but the stairwell closet, eating my mom's protein bars, was also like hiding and eating. Those are almost signs of like an addiction or some form there. Um,
Mhm.
but then as I also recall going over to a friend's house. Like I had a small job working for mom. I think we've talked about this before and how I made more money than you working for mom,
Yes, yes,
that
we
sort.
remember that.
Yeah, we remember that conversation. I just wanted to remind you again. But I saved up my money until I would go over to a friend's house and then we'd walk over to Big Lots and I would spend all of my money on junk and I would eat all of that junk at their house that whole time. And it was like binge eating that sugar. It was
Mm-hmm.
a lot. And that
Mm-hmm.
didn't happen just once in a while. It happened often.
Mm-hmm.
And so all of these habits even in high school, my meal had to have a Three Musketeer bar for lunch, or a cookie or something like that. And
Mm-hmm.
it would just, I just saw it.
Mm-hmm.
College was even worse. So
Mm-hmm.
there was like this addiction that I never realized until I started journaling and identifying my past.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, when I first started, I didn't see myself having a problem. When you taught about in one of our modules, we talk about emotional eating, and I was like, I'm
Mm-hmm.
not an emotional eater. That's dumb.
Mm-hmm.
I denied that. And then as I was reading it and going on with life, I'm like, I'm actually, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I can see that food comes into play with this, and how I got to where I got. Like,
Yeah.
I didn't realize how depressed I was as a
Mm-hmm.
young mom. And
At least
yes.
your realization came in the privacy of your home. My realization came in front of my hero, Bitten Johnson, who
Oh,
is one of the world's renowned
yes.
food addiction specialist. And she told me, she said, Monica, you're a food addict. I said, no, I'm not. I just lost 120 pounds because I had associated, um, success on the scale. And I was
Mm-hmm.
living my best life at the time, teaching clients, take your chocolate with you, take your Lily's chocolate chips with you to your parties because, then you won't be without and you won't fall off the wagon. Well, part of that is feeding food addiction.
Mm,
Part of that is, I think the ketogenic lifestyle is not a great helper with the food addiction because the food choices that we make are healthy. Now, mine, I have a scope of addiction. I have, I would tend to, if I allowed myself, I would probably be an alcoholic. I have a very addictive personality. So if I like something, I like it forever and I like a lot of it. And so, so for me, that I have a wide array of addictions,
mm-hmm.
but one of my biggest ones was volume eating. In fact, I would teach my clients this, because the ketogenic, lifestyle and the foods that we can eat, do not cause weight gain. We can eat a lot of it. And so what I was finding myself doing was eating a monstrous salad, like monstrous, like, and I'm like, pour those fats on there, and the fact of the matter is I have a volume eating, like the more the better. And it wasn't until carnivore that I realized, wait a minute, we don't need a lot of food. If you're eating the right kinds of things, we
Mm,
don't need a lot of it in order to be okay. And so the really cool thing about healing is that it evolves. So we can stop the bleeding, right? The ketogenic lifestyle helps you stop the bleeding of sugar addiction because we don't eat sugar, we stop it. But that addiction that we stop can very well turn into another addiction. It's
mm-hmm.
called addiction transfer. And so we can transfer our addiction. And I did mine completely backwards because I got rid of the sugar and the carbs and I replaced it with alcohol. which is not something I recommend.
I'm gonna call you out on the food or on the clothes first.
Oh, yes, the shoes. Shoes.
Shoot.
Shoes were first,
That
and
those were okay, then the
then I
clothes.
was feeling so sexy in my shoes that I turned over to alcohol,
Okay.
low carb alcohol. And
Right.
that is when Bitten Johnson said, Monica, you're an
Yeah.
alcoholic. You have a problem. You have an addiction problem. And I quit her
Yeah.
program for 6 months because I'm like, no, I
Right.
don't. I
Right.
don't have a problem. This is
Right.
low carb. And I
Right.
did have a problem. And so it I was not able to heal fully until I realized that problem. Now, are there tricks and tips on how to get rid of addiction with the ketogenic lifestyle and with carnivore? Yeah, because when I went carnivore, I wasn't hungry, and that
Hmm.
was a very big assist for me because I wasn't hungry and I wasn't running to the kitchen every time because I had everything I needed. And so
Yeah.
by the time I went carnivore, I understood how addiction transfer happened and I was ready for it. And
Right.
so it was staying close to my people. It was staying close to the 12 steps that has helped me continue my healing process.
Right.
So healing is continual. It's not a one and done situation
Right.
because we're human beings.
Do you believe that we have conditioned ourselves because what you're saying is when you ate a lot of something, that's the only thing that made you feel full uncontent, right?
Hmm.
And I think that's the volume eating is the only thing because I can relate to that because I never felt satisfied after a meal, even though I also ate what was on my kids' plate just so I
Hmm.
didn't waste it.
Wasting.
You
Yes.
know, then we were taught that you don't waste food, and
Hmm.
so you eat it. Like
Right.
even though it's not what you put on your own plate, it was also your kids' plate. So we've conditioned our bodies to basically have the ghrelin and the leptin hormone not
Hmm.
work.
Yeah.
And because we were feeding our bodies the wrong thing that it
Hmm.
needed. And when we went and found something that was sustainable enough to turn that food noise off,
Hmm.
that helped with that volume
Hmm. It did.
need.
Yeah.
And do you think that because the standard American diet or the Western diet is so terrible based on the quality of food that we are conditioned to eat a ton of food
Hmm.
in one setting and still be able to eat 30 to an hour to 2 hours later,
Hmm.
constantly having those snacks.
Yeah.
So between that and then the action, you're creating that habit of eating a quantity and
Hmm.
conditioning yourself to be like, okay, if I have a salad with a whole bunch of other stuff on it,
Yeah.
then this should be good, even though the salad
Hmm.
is just basically water,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and
right?
I think there's a scientific term for that. And I'm not a doctor. I don't play one on the internet, but I think that is called leptin resistance.
Oh, yeah.
And, processed foods create leptin resistance, where and leptin is the hormone that makes you feel full.
Mm-hmm.
Ghrelin is the one I always think growling. My
Yes.
stomach's
Yes.
growling. That's the one that tells you you're hungry. So
Right.
when you have ghrelin and leptin resistance, and processed foods cause this, and empty calories cause this. When you have that, you know, it's just like throwing gasoline on a fire. It just multiplies that food addiction.
Mm-hmm.
And so what we want to do and what we work with our clients is how do we heal those hormones? Because it's a physical chemical addiction. It's actually a physical and chemical thing. It's not an emotional. Now, when you add emotional eating onto that, that's why we have 56% of our population living in obesity because you just have a hot mess. You've got the
Mm-hmm.
leptin resistance, you've got the chemical addiction to food, you have the emotional eating because we eat our feelings now. We can't sit in pain anymore because our culture says you should never feel pain. Yeah, we should. When you feel pain, you will change. And so we don't want to feel pain. And so we add the emotional eating onto that. And we're a mess. That's why
Mm-hmm.
80% of our
Right.
people are chemically addicted. And if they're not, they will become that if they continue the processed food
Right.
addiction. Because I think the processed food addiction is that's the root of
Mm-hmm.
food addiction, is the
Right.
processed foods.
I
Because
think
I don't think other countries experience the food addiction that we do because they don't have the processed stuff.
right. Right. We on top of that, they probably are allowing their ghrelin to actually work, where we are
Hmm.
not allowing our
Exactly.
ghrelin to work. We hardly ever hear our tummies rumble unless
Hmm.
it's gas. Like that's
Exactly.
good. There's a difference between gas growl
Uh-huh.
and food hunger
Food
growl,
hunger. Yeah.
and when we have just, and here's my new thing that I've discovered is that we are so conditioned. I'm saying that conditioned word a lot
Hmm.
because
Yeah,
that's what we are. We're
it is.
conditioned about having to eat at a certain time,
Mhm.
have to eat breakfast at a certain time. Oh,
Mhm.
12 o'clock, even though you're not hungry, it's 12
Yeah.
o'clock. So it must be time for lunch.
Yeah.
And then it goes on where you eat your meal at 12 o'clock. And then, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock comes around. Oh,
Uh-huh.
I'm not really
Time to
hungry.
eat.
My ghrelin has not even gone off yet, but
Mhm.
it's time to eat. This is dinner time.
Mhm.
So we are conditioning ourselves, even mentally, to say,
Yeah.
to not allow the ghrelin to actually work and allow ourselves to
Mhm.
let the food be processed that we ate.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll never forget Dr. Barry. He said something one time. Actually, it was right before we started the carnivore lifestyle. He said, and this is the first time I have never had to track my macros. For 7 years, I've tracked my macros, and
Hmm.
I preach it, and I preach it to our clients too, because if you're not tracking your macros, we can't help you. We don't have the tools we need to. However, when I went carnivore, that was the first time I did not have to track my macros. And in my head was ringing Dr. Barry's, when the food stops tasting good, stop. I can't believe how little I eat when I put that into practice. Like how much I was eating on my plate that I didn't need to eat. When that food stops tasting good, I stop for 20 minutes. Now, typically because we do have to eat enough, right? So I'm really
Hmm.
cognizant of the fact of how much I'm eating. But if in 20 minutes it still doesn't sound good, I'm done eating. And I don't have to track that. And that is why it's working. And I'm full. That building and working on healing that leptin resistance to me was like it was an eye opener when I went carnivore. Now that is not possible when you eat the standard American diet, the SAD diet.
Right.
It is impossible, I believe, to heal the leptin resistance with the standard American diet because you're never full. You never experience that full feeling. And you don't have the turnoff switch,
Hmm.
So I think that if we started, this is annoying because you are right. Uh, if we started listening to our bodies, they talk to us,
They do.
but we ignore them. And that is where we feed the
Yeah.
food addiction. If we listen to our bodies and ate, and this is not intuitive eating because intuitive eating takes me straight to Dairy Queen. It's
Right.
understanding the impact of food to our bodies. It's understanding what sugar does to our bodies. Sugar
Yes.
shuts off the leptin hormone, shuts it off completely. I think it freezes it, it drugs it, right?
Yeah.
But when you are physically hungry, food hunger starts in your belly. Your head is the driver of emotional eating and food addiction. It starts
Hmm.
in your head. Food hunger starts in your belly, and it comes on
Right.
slowly.
Right.
Emotional eating comes on really fast. You're sitting at the couch, on your couch watching the show, and you see the corn pops commercial come on. And that was my favorite cereal, by the way. Corn
Corn
pops.
pops.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
And
I think.
honeycombs were my
Oh,
favorite. And when you see that commercial, it's like, boom, I need
yeah.
to go get some corn pops. Boom, I need to
Yes.
go get a cookie. Oh,
Yes.
popcorn? You're a salty person? That is emotional eating, and that's when you can stop it. If you are hungry enough to go get a can of green beans from your cupboard and eat a can of green beans cold, you are hungry. So,
What does it say about somebody that grew up and that's what they did for a meal. Like like I did. Like I
Hmm.
wouldn't even cook it.
The
I
green
would
beans.
do
Oh yeah.
green beans,
Yeah.
spinach, and carrots were
Oh
my
yeah.
favorite, and I would
Once
just
you're
eat it out of the
hungry.
can.
Yeah.
Does that mean
I put
or
vinegar
okay?
in my can of spinach. Oh man, it was
Ew,
so good.
what?
Yeah.
Ew.
Well,
I guess
and
I can't knock it until I try it.
no, because you knocked the egg thing, I believe. Was it the egg and the coffee you
Your
knocked, and then you're
coffee,
like, oh my gosh,
I
that
didn't
was
knock
good.
it. I knocked
I
the
believe you did.
element tea for a
Element
while.
tea. Yeah. Oh yeah.
That's what I knocked, the chocolate element tea, not
Mm-hmm.
element tea, because I would not knock that ever. But
Yeah. So listen, we want to encourage you today, and we want you to start to think about the process of food addiction. And we're just giving you kind of a sneak peek into our world of on how we use therapy to heal food addiction. Did you know the second step in the Overeaters Anonymous is the spiritual side? So
Mhm.
as we step a little bit further, with each podcast or with each show that we do, you know, we believe it that they all of these things go together. Without God, honestly, I couldn't have done what I did. I
Right,
couldn't. It wasn't me. There's no way without a higher power that I could have healed my body like this. So
right.
we're encouraging you. Number one, if you struggle with food addiction, join 80% of the population. Congratulations, you're in our side of
Mm-hmm.
the world, right? There are some normal eaters out there who can
Yeah.
go to a party, pick up a cookie, and walk away
Or a nibble. I
or
can't
nibble.
do that.
I
No,
could
no
not do that.
nibbles. Mm-mm.
There's no way that I could take one bite of a cookie, walk away, put it down, and not. There's no way.
Right.
I think 10% of the world can do that though. And if that is you, please congratulate yourself
Yes.
because you are one of the lucky ones.
Mm-hmm.
For the rest of us, you cannot start your healing journey without admitting you have a problem. Um, because when you admit that you're powerless over food and powerless over this, then you can start to get help and then you can start to heal. So we've done it. We have done it. I'm still doing it. I will forever be a food addict. If Monica went to Martin's supermarket right now, went to the donut cabinet and got a Long John with the fluffy white icing on the inside, if she took one bite of that, she would go on a 30-pound sugar binge, and you would not see her in a podcast, and you would not see her for about 6 months.
Mm.
So
Yes.
I will forever be a food addict, but I don't define my life as that. I define my life as healed, but I
Mm-hmm.
also know that I will always have another relapse in me for the rest of my life. I will always have another relapse in me, but I don't know if I will have another recovery. And
Mm.
that scares me straight. Scares me straight.
Right.
Darcy, do you have any final closing words to our podcast today or our Facebook Live today?
Well, I would just say, there's one extreme to another. There's
Hmm.
different levels, I think, of addiction. And
Hmm.
you might not be where Coach Monica is. And then you
Hmm.
might be maybe leaning towards, my form of how
Hmm.
claim as a food addict. But whichever it is, just be open to acknowledge that there could be something there. There
Hmm.
could be the possibility of having that form of addiction that you need to work
Yeah.
on instead of just focusing on the weight loss.
Yeah.
Um, and having that safety net to me is a huge comfort.
Yeah.
That's the thing for
Yeah.
me, is that knowing that there is that safety net that I can go to, whether it be carnivore, whether it be
Hmm.
keto. Like I know that if I go anywhere, I've always got those two
Hmm.
things
Yeah.
to make me know that I am not going to fail. I'm not going to go backwards because
Hmm.
I've got this in my back pocket.
Yeah. If I had parenting to do over again, I'm an empty
Mm,
nester.
that's a whole new
Yeah.
podcast.
Yeah. Because I just want people to know, because you mentioned, the childhood.
Hmm.
From formula on, if you look at formula, corn syrup is the number one ingredient in there,
Right.
cornstarch. We are conditioning our kids from birth to be addicts. And so if I had it to do over again, I would parent an entirely different way. I'll never forget what Dr. Barry said at our conference. One woman had stood up and she's like, I have created a family of food addicts. And how do I get out of it? And he looked her in the face and he said, who buys the stuff? You are
Right.
responsible for your family's food addiction. And she looked, her face was like, oh my gosh,
Right.
they don't buy it. Now, can they go out to other people's houses and get it? Sure.
Yes.
At that point, he had only one child at the time. And he's like, I forget what his first baby's name is, but he's
Beckett.
like, what is it?
Beckett.
Beckett. Beckett
Mm-hmm.
has never tasted a sweet in his life, and he was 4 years old.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, you're buying it for your kids. You're creating the food addict. So if I had it to do over again, I would have raised my children a lot differently. We
Yeah.
wouldn't have had processed foods in the house. We wouldn't have had sugar. We would not have had cereal in the
All the
house.
snacks. Kids
Yeah.
don't eat a snack that much,
Yeah.
you
One,
know?
I forget which podcast it was or which book I was reading because they're all melding together. But I loved the idea of, um, oh shoot, it's going to bother me who it was, but they were able each on their birthday. They were able, and you may know after I tell you the story, they were able to go choose a box of cereal. That was their birthday present. And everybody got to enjoy. They each got that kind of box of cereal and they were all able to enjoy on their birthday. So they still had that in their life, but it
Yeah.
was put in there on a specific occasion. And they were not bitter about it. They didn't feel like they had, I think she was saying her parents, that was what they did because she was like, we were so excited when it was our birthday. She wasn't bitter that she didn't have sugar in her life. It was just like that was a special occasion.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I would have done if I could parent again, because I look at my kids now and I'm like, did I do a good job? Did I cause a food addict? I don't know. I would have, and it would have helped me on top of
Right.
everything else. I'm like, we would have been okay. You can't go back and you can't do the woulda, shoulda,
And
couldas.
and you can't feel guilty for
Yeah.
it.
You can't
I mean, I'm in the
should on
midst.
yourself.
No, I couldn't shit on myself. Like
Yeah.
I am in the midst of having young boys that,
Mm-hmm.
had I been able to
Had
train
I?
them how to eat a little bit better,
Yeah. It would have
yeah,
been
a
easier.
few years, it would have been a little bit easier. Right now, we're flying by the way we can,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm
That's
buying
most parenting.
organic. Yeah,
That's most
yeah,
parenting.
it is.
We just survived. And we
Yeah,
didn't have the help of the sad diet. We didn't
yeah.
have that. In fact, we had everything against that. And so
Mhm.
for most parents, unless they're starting out with a blank slate of newborn babies,
Right,
trying to take that away from your kid
right,
is just like, you got to do one thing. And,
right.
maybe this would help you, Darcy. Let me coach you for a second, being a mom.
Okay,
Think about it as James Clear's book, right? Because I
okay,
know you
yes,
struggle with this. I know you've
yes.
got almost teenagers now. And so for you to
Mm,
go and to baptize your kids and say, oh, we're going to all get saved here. We're going to do that would be like, what the heck are you doing, mom? But if you think about the 1%, the James Clear
yep,
book, that's how I would convert my family. 1%
yes.
without them knowing.
Well,
They would have no
here's
clue.
what I do. You want to hear what I do?
Uh-huh.
Because I know that this is a battle, and I want all of you mamas out there to
Mm-hmm.
listen. Like it's you can do the cold turkey where you can just,
Mm-hmm.
take everything, dump it out, and be strict. Yes, you can do that.
Right.
You can. To me, that worries me about the emotional damage that you might be causing them in the future. I know our mom had the best of heart of health, but
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if she necessarily had the answer of like, let's do no sugar. Like,
Mm-hmm.
there's no sugar in the
I
house.
just thought we were poor.
Well, we were, and we went
Yeah.
to food pantries often
Yeah.
to get our food. And I remember enjoying a broccoli pizza one time because that's what we had. It
Oh,
was a treat.
uh-huh.
Um, but when I had access to it, that is where the addiction started to come in.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't necessarily want to do that to my kids. I remember going to a friend's house and they always had things like Pop
Mm-hmm.
Tarts and fruit roll ups and all those things that we didn't have. And I
Right.
coveted it, you
Right.
know?
Yeah.
And when I was able to buy it, that's what I did. I
Mm-hmm.
want my kids to be able to have those things
Mm-hmm.
but not feel like they are restricted from it. But also, when it comes to in my house, I will teach them, this is what I do. I've taught them about red dye 40. I said,
Mm-hmm.
does that have red dye 40? It's not going to be good for your brain. Don't you want to be strong kind of things.
Mm-hmm.
Like educate them on why it's not
Why?
good for
Give
them.
them the why. Mm-hmm.
And then I support all of those local, organic,
Mm-hmm.
dye-free companies that
Yeah.
know that what they have is, it's more expensive,
Yep.
but I'm willing to do probably like that 80/20 mindset with my
Mm-hmm.
kids and
Yeah.
ease them out of it so I don't scar them. I
Yeah.
so I
And you're
don't,
in because you've raised your kids. For those new
yeah,
mamas, my
start
gosh, can
now.
we pour life into you and don't buy it?
Yeah.
Like,
No.
get your family on that. Because here's the thing, people think, oh, well, I can't convert my family to keto because that's a diet. If you start them out young and whole foods and start them out with
Yeah.
nature's carbs, if that's where I would start my family. I would
Mm-hmm.
start my family on nature's carbs, zero
Yep.
processed foods, nature's carbs. So I would fill my refrigerator with the berries and the fruits. That's what I would do if I had it
Yes.
to do over again. They would never taste processed foods in my house. And I would put a little bit of the fear tactic in there and say, nope, not in this house because we want you to live until
Right.
so
But
if you have a
yeah,
brand new family, you can do the hard things.
yeah,
You can jump in
absolutely.
the deep ends. If you are like Coach Darcy and like I got boys I'm raising,
Teenager.
1%, it
Ugh.
works while
Yes.
you're educating them and explaining to them
Yeah.
what red dye 40 means, why the government puts these things in, what it does to your body, and explaining it to them. Then they're like, oh, then they can't
Yeah.
unsee it. And then
Right.
they're going to go to their friends and say, and not necessarily say anything, but they're going to understand why abstaining may be a
Yeah.
better choice.
Right.
So that
Yep.
was a freebie. That was not
Right.
even
We're
included
not
in this
even we're
podcast.
not even professionals when it comes to that, but I thought it
No,
was pretty good.
no, we should do it. We should do a whole show someday on converting your family to the
Yeah.
healthy lifestyle because that is
That's
very scary.
there's some real stubborn people out there though.
Yeah. Yeah.
Real stubborn people.
A lot of our wives that we coach are like, I don't want to create two meals. How do I convert my husband?
Yeah.
And a lot of times people think that keto is this, we eat different stuff and we eat, these pre-made things, and that's not the case.
Right.
That is the starvation diet,
Mm-hmm.
Octavia's case. That's what they do. You have to buy their meals.
Right.
But for us, they're like, oh, well, that was keto. That was the most yummy thing ever. There is
Mm-hmm.
no difference in cooking. There's no
Yeah.
difference unless you're bringing in, the only time that it would matter is if you're bringing in the sweets and the treats and those kinds of things,
Yeah.
because we do
Yeah.
use different ingredients
Yeah.
there. We don't use the white flours anymore. We use
Mm-mm.
almond flour. We use, different things. So it is,
Cheese.
what'd you
Cheese.
say? Yes.
Cheese.
Yes. So, hey, listen, good show today. We drop a new podcast every Tuesday morning at 6 a.m. And we are live on Facebook on our socials accounts every Tuesday at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. It was a really funny show this last time. If you missed last Tuesday, because it is summertime at Coach Darcy's house, oh dear, things
I forgot
happen
that
during
happened.
lives. They're,
Oh, I
they're,
already forgot.
you want to make sure you tune in because anything can happen.
Anything can happen. I
Anything
don't know if that
happens.
exploiting what happened though. That's telling
We needed
people
one of those blurring tools. Oh,
it's
did,
fine. He still
did
had pants on.
did he
He was
realize what
fine.
had happened?
I don't know. I
Just
feel
didn't.
like I hope that he just kind of
Oh,
I don't know.
he
My
just
kids
kind of snuck back out. It was hilarious. Hilarious. All right,
it's
guys.
fine.
We are so glad you joined us today. Let us know if you have any questions or if you need any help on your health journey. That's what Coach Darcy and I spend our days doing. We love helping. We love walking with you. We have so many victory stories that we do the Snoopy dance a lot. So I know Coach Darcy has some contracts that are ending here. I've got a couple of
Mhm.
contracts that are ending. We do have spaces available for a one-on-one coaching. If that is what you need, please visit our website at kmhealthcoaching.org. Make sure you sign up for our 30-day carnivore challenge. And if you need some extra help, please set up a free health assessment. We will talk to you before you decide what program you need. That is a really, really important thing to us, that you are in the right program. So, Coach, we will see you next
Yep.
Tuesday. All
All
right.
right.
You
Bye.
take care, everyone.